Hello and greetings, fellow StarCrafters, and welcome back to game number 2 between the red Protoss player EGHuk, who's now on the team Complexity, versus EGHuk, who's over here. And we saw a very nice game. In the first game, we saw Naniwa was able to pull it through basically with Blink Micro. Both players had relatively comparable Blink Micro, but Naniwa did in fact commit more to the Blink Stalkers as he did not opt for the robotics that Huk had to commit to and dump all of Huk's resources into. Not all of his resources, but a considerable amount of resources. And it just shows you basically how close these Protoss versus Protoss matches are. Now, just to talk about the Protoss versus Protoss match and a little bit of the evolution of it. So before that patch, and I forget which number it was, maybe 1.2 or something like that, it was almost all 4 gates, especially on maps like Tal'Darim Altar, which have like basically no ramp to be able to defend in Protoss versus Protoss matches. It has since evolved, and since that patch, which increased warp gate timing and decreased the range of pylons by 1. It has since evolved to a lot more Blink Stalker focused, and it actually used to be very Colossus heavy, but those tend to be not quite as Colossus heavy anymore, because Blink Stalkers are just so good at taking out Colossus. They can just blink forward, and it's only 1 or 2 volleys usually, depending on how many Blink Stalkers that you have, to be able to take out the Colossus. So it really doesn't contribute that much, and it's a huge amount of resources to have to invest in it. And now it's actually evolved even more so, and there was a game between Sage and I forget him, but it was relatively recent on coL.Naniwa, which, if I can remember the other player, it's another Protoss player. It happened relatively recently in Code A, but they actually ended up both getting warp prisms, which the newest patch also increased warp prism hit points. But they both got warp prisms, and they both got a pair of immortals and put them in warp prisms, and they got warp prism speed. And actually, that was really cool because, I mean, they were just ferrying around immortals, picking off pylons, dealing some damage to the economies. It was very awesome to see that, that kind of evolution, and it kind of reminded me of Reavers and Shuttles from Brood War, which I think StarCraft 2 will develop something similar to that, given enough time. Even in matches like Protoss versus Protoss, which is slowly becoming much more interesting of a matchup. It used to just be all micro, and apparently, I mean, it's really not that much anymore. Did you just cancel the Zealot and rebuild the Zealot? Okay. Looks like he has opted not for the Zealot. I think he didn't want to finish the Zealot, but wanted maybe Naniwa to think he was going to finish the Zealot. I'm not quite sure exactly what he was going for there. Looks like these builds are mirroring each other still. I don't think that there's going to be very much tech going on. You do see that Huk's probe was doing the mineral trick to stop the enemy probe from mining at the patch, and probably mined for just a little bit too long, and did indeed take 5 minerals from that patch, so maybe that'll end up mattering at the end of the game if, I don't know, Naniwa gets mined out or something and is 5 minerals short of building a new Nexus or something like that. Probably not going to matter, though. Looks like Huk's... maybe they paused there, or he just said something accidentally. Looks like Huk's Stalker is going to be able to take out that probe. This probe did in fact get hit twice by the Zealot. Has Naniwa... Yeah, Naniwa spotted Huk's base. Oh, of course, because the Stalker took out the Zealot. Now, Huk's going to want to run that Stalker away pretty quickly, as it is being chased by a Stalker and a Zealot. The Zealot is going to run around. It actually looks like Naniwa was going to be going for a fairly early aggression. And in fact, we do see a 4 gate coming from Huk this game. So, back to the traditional Protoss versus Protoss, in which we see 4 gates. That's going to be a very nice hidden pylon right there. So Huk will be able to do at least at the very minimum counterattacks, even if he's caught within his base. Naniwa, at the meantime, I believe he's only got up to 3 gateways. Yes, he has only got up to 3 gateways, actually, so he's doing some sort of 3-gate aggression here, and it's not a fake amount of aggression, but on the other hand, Huk's going to have a definite advantage here, and I think Naniwa was going to figure that out pretty quickly, as he did indeed just spot the 4 gateways, and you can see as soon as he did that, he canceled the pylons, and he sent the Stalker home, and he's going to want to start running. He's going to maybe try to delay them just a little bit, but we do already have, no, the probe is scooting in here, but we already have 4 Stalkers warping in here at home, and the 4 Stalkers will be able to rush up into the base. You can see that the Twilight Council was on the way as well. But, and there's a Sentry as well. The Sentry did not get there in time. He did not know that Huk was able to lay that pylon. He is trying to focus fire that Stalker, not able to quite do it though, as those 4 Stalkers will get 3 free kills basically before any other forces intervene. And these 2 Stalkers are now going to be able to rejoin. Huk's going to want to run these Stalkers just a little bit farther back to rejoin the rest of the forces. Oh, poor force field from Naniwa actually is going to make that Sentry almost useless, as as he did actually not block the Stalkers from being able to come in. Looks like the Zealots are going to move up. They're going to be able to tank a lot of the damage, and the probes are going to be having to pull for Naniwa. Naniwa's going to have to pull the probes, in which he did. He pulled 4 probes. Looks like those Zealots are taking a lot of damage and actually dealing a decent amount to the probes as well. I think EGHuk is waiting for reinforcements right now. He is getting 4 new Zealots, which are going to be coming in. That's a lot of Zealots, actually. I'm not quite sure why he did quite so many Zealots. If we go to the unit counting tab, EGHuk is actually behind on Stalkers, but the Zealots are doing quite well against the other Zealots, as well against the probes. Able to kill a lot of the probes there. I think EGHuk's going to want to transfer. It looks like he's going to transfer one of the Zealots to the mineral line. Meanwhile, the rest of the Zealots are going to try to fight the Stalkers. EGHuk is probably going to want to warp in additional Stalkers, but looks like this aggression is actually just going to be over for EGHuk. I think what EGHuk was trying to do maybe was go for an economic lead, and oh my god, that Stalker's at 1 health. It is almost dead. Nice job focusing down these probes right here. Look at that. He's now up by 9 probes. That is a absolutely gigantic lead at this point in the game, and especially in a Protoss versus Protoss. Naniwa is going to have no chance of being able to research Blink, and so probably the entirety of his counterattack is going to be dependent basically on these units or any other units that he chooses to get before he attacks. Looks like he will in fact discover the pylon that was his undoing. Now we can see that the supply counts are actually similar, 28 to 30, however, so I think that means that Naniwa's army supply is considerably larger at this point in time, as he does have, let's take the unit tab, he does have a 2 Stalker advantage, but EGHuk has a 5 probe advantage, so EGHuk is going to be ahead just a little bit right there, and I'm actually kind of confused why he decided to warp in those Zealots instead of Stalkers. I think he had enough resources to be able to do it. I didn't miss any aggression against him, I don't think so. Yeah, he did not have any aggression against him killing his forces or anything like that. So I'm not quite sure why he decided to back off. Maybe he thought he wanted to deal some economic damage and then just head on home, which is exactly what he did. I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing Blink. Yep, we do see Blink from EGHuk coming up now. He does have 3 Zealots, so actually it looks like he's favoring Zealots just a little bit, and maybe even a little bit too much, although EGHuk is a much better player than I am, so I should probably give him the benefit of the doubt. Looks like he's getting robotics as well, just to make sure he does not get DT'd out of the game, as actually both players are getting robotics at this point in time. Immortals will also be very nice in helping against the Blink Stalkers, as they do not have any sort of attack animation, which has to hit the opponent. It just auto-hits when it fires. It instantly goes through. There's no projectiles or anything like that. EGHuk is now taking a 7 supply lead, which is kind of big at this point in time. I say kind of big as like it is like 4 additional Stalkers, which is huge, right? Like that's absolutely huge. I don't think I think the EGHuk is still ahead on Harvesters actually. He does have, what does he have? Almost maximum. Yeah, he has almost maximum the amount of Harvesters that he can have on one base. And it looks like actually EGHuk's just going to plan to expand under this. I think he feels safe enough, and he knows that Nani was not going to be able to expand just because of how far behind he was and how, I think, much smaller his army is. Now, actually, I think their armies are fairly similar in size. EGHuk is ahead by 8 supply. No, so EGHuk is ahead by 2 Stalkers right now, as well as 4 Harvesters. Looks like there's a little bit of a lull, which is kind of interesting considering that they're all Blink Stalkers. Did he just pick out a Observer? Go ahead and, yeah, it looks like EGHuk is building another Observer, and I don't think he has one. Yep. So that was a nice blink from Naniwa's part. He blinked his Stalkers, be able to pick out that Observer, and now Naniwa's Observer is going to be able to slide across. It will spot the expansion, and that will probably trigger him to either move out or expand on his own, as if he does neither, he is going to die. Looks like that Observer is just sliding around. EGHuk might see it, though, with these forces. Oh, looks like he was trying to take it out over there. Not quite able to spot it. But if he turns around, he will be able to pick up that Observer if he can spot it. It's a little shimmer, I guess, sliding across. And looks like he is going to get it. Oh! 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 He did not turn his Observer around in time, so he was actually not quite able to take it out. This Observer is just going to keep on sliding, and since neither is faster than the other, I gotta be very careful with his engagement here. EGHuk is without his Sentry and without his Zealots, which are an important component of his army. Oh, able to get 2 free Stalker kills for Naniwa. Oh, 2.5 free Stalker kills. The Stalker was just hurt halfway. Very nice move from Naniwa there. He does have his Sentry as well up with them. That's always going to be important. This pylon always in place. Looks like it has not been spotted by EGHuk. Very nice placement for pylons. It's always interesting to see Protoss players and exactly where they decide to put their pylons. Looks like the engagement's going to be coming across now. Now Naniwa's going to have to deal a good amount of damage here, as HUK does in fact have the economic lead now that he is saturating this expansion, and his harvest count, I believe, is still 4 higher. Yes, it is. And so these probes are going to be more efficient than Naniwa's additional probes, which he might not have any actually. So they might be same efficiency, but HUK's able to use all of his probes to full effect. So all of his additional workers are generating a lot of additional income. Looks like the Blink Biker is just a little bit off. However, the concave for HUK is very, very nice right here. And the Guardian Shield has been used by Naniwa's Sentry. Nice blink from HUK, able to take away those forces. There's a little bit of jumbling. It's hard to tell exactly what's going on. However, I do think that, wow, this is really well controlled by both players right here. The little bit of the, ooh, was that one of HUK's stalkers that was just taken out? He might have A-clicked on his own stalker right there. If you go to the stalker count, we do see that HUK is only down by 3 stalkers. Looks like Naniwa is going to just blink up into the base. However, HUK does not quite realize that. Not quite sure why doesn't realize that, as he's now done it. Looks like HUK is going to blink up as well, and their forces are going to move forward and engage. The Zealot's absorbing a good amount of damage, and HUK is still with the better concave right here. However, Naniwa has evened it out by the amount of forces. Looks like both forces are blinking back injured stalkers. Very nice moves on their part. Naniwa seems to be doing just a little bit better job. However, HUK still has that expansion going across as... Oh, okay, apparently a couple of additional workers were killed. He did kill 5 additional workers just now with a warp in, huh? From this pylon. Very nice job on HUK's part during the combat. And I totally missed this, so that was my bad. But during the combat, he was able to warp in a couple of either stalkers or zealots, send them into Naniwa's base, and take out some additional workers. So now HUK is very, very far ahead in terms of worker count. And I think it's really going to make that count, and it's going to be very difficult for Naniwa to be able to come back. You see that HUK is now up ahead by 10 supply, as he does have, let's see here, he does have only 1 less stalker. Looks like HUK has seen Naniwa's stalkers be able to move in. They are going to be able to take out the robotics facility, actually, quite possibly. If he chooses to focus that down, he has not quite chosen to do that yet. Looks like HUK is just blinking his stalkers forward. His zealots are going to be on top of Naniwa's forces as well. I think he blinked forward because he believes that he's going to be able to win this conflict. He has more warp-ins that are more readily available. He can warp directly into the base, and it looks like Naniwa's forces are just going to be taken out. Very nice job from HUK there, showing exactly what a Protoss mastermind he is. And some very nice control from both players. I think Naniwa probably out-microed HUK just a little bit. However, HUK very much out-microed Naniwa with this additional base, as well. His earlier attack was much better done, as Naniwa opted for the risky 3-gate, and actually aggression off of the 3-gate, which the 4-gate is basically a hard counter to, as you just have more forces, you're closer to your base, so there's no way you're ever going to win that engagement. Naniwa unable to recover from that counterattack from HUK, and then HUK very intelligently using this pylon to warp in additional forces and killing some additional workers before Naniwa was able to respond. So very nice game, and we're going to be moving on to the rubber game. Game number 3, and so this is PG on Minecraft signing off.